Ahoy there, Captain Benzie here, coming at you from inside the Eve Echo's final test with a ship fitting guide looking at the Caldari Kestrel, which is a frigate that you can get early on. Now, before we jump in on this one, if you enjoyed the video, let me know by hitting like on it, consider subscribing to the channel for all things Eve Echoes, and let me know what topics you'd like to see me cover in future content, either by commenting down below, or by finding me on social media, or coming and joining the Kestrel Cartel Discord. It is a public Discord available to anyone. You don't have to be part of the Kestrel Cartel Corporation in order to join. Alright, that's it and done. Let's jump into talking about the Kestrel. Now, as I said, the Kestrel is a very early unlock. It's a Caldari ship, but of course you can get it as the other different factions as well. I picked this one up nice and early on. It's a tier 3 destroyer. If we go into the ship tree and have a look at the Caldari ship tree, you'll be able to see this fairly low down, and we can have a look at its stats and then talk about why this is such an awesome ship. So here we are under Tech 3, there is the Kestrel. Let's go into details and have a look at what this little beast can do. So straight up, for small missile and torpedo operation, if you have that skill, for every level you have in that skill, not including advanced or expert, you get an extra 8% small missile or torpedo damage, and an extra 5% small missile torpedo velocity. That actually gives them a little bit more range, and they fire that little bit faster, which is always very useful. Now, if you've got any skill points in frigate command bonus, and for each level you have as well, you will get a 5% flight velocity, up to a total, therefore, of 25% additional flight velocity. If we look at the attributes and fittings, you can see here, looking at its defenses, its shield is 440 over its armor of 297 and structure of 392. This is a shield vessel, so you're probably going to want to have some like shield boosting skills, that kind of thing. We're going to talk about that in the fittings and the skill section later on. Capacitor of 335 gigajoules is fairly, it's actually surprisingly solid for a frigate of this size. Maximum lock targets 4, that's based on my unlocked skills as well. Flight velocity of 346 with a warp speed of 5 AU. It's a nippy little beast with some decent fittings. In the top right, you can see it's got 2 high slots, 1 medium slot, and 2 low slots. So this is very much a combat frigate for the Caldari. And as I said, you can see on the ship tree here, it is at tech level 3, so you can get access to this thing early on. Now, what we're going to show in this video is how to use Kestrel Kiting, which is using missiles to do anomalies and encounters that are far higher than the ones you should be able to do. So let's jump into the fitting window here, and we'll have a look at how I fitted this one out. Now, this is admittedly using some tech that is a little bit higher than Tech 3, but of course you can drop it down to the Tech 3 stuff. So in the high slots, I am currently running 2 Mark 5 small missile launchers, though Mark 3s or even Mark 1s will work absolutely fine. The only difference between the Mark 1, the Mark 3, and the Mark 5 ultimately is the damage. So if you can only fit Mark 1s or Mark 3s, that's fine, it's just going to take a little bit longer. And I've got 2 of these fitted here. In the low slots, I am currently running a Mark 5 small shield booster, although a shield hardener would work just as well. And again, using a Mark 3 or a Mark 1 isn't going to cause any problems. Just a Mark 5 is a bit more efficient on the capacitor, which does help. Although you can see from the power grid here, this isn't really using much. And the second low slot is an afterburner. Again, a Mark 1 afterburner, absolutely fine. Mark 3, okay. I just happened to stumble across a Mark 5, so that's what I'm using. In the mid slots, ultimately I don't have anything equipped just yet, simply because all I've got are these remote capacitors, which aren't of any use to this build. So I'd rather just keep the power grid, and if I lose the ship, it's not an extra module that wasn't doing anything that I've lost. And that basically is the outfit. And 64.91 DPS, of course, that's based on the skills that I'm using as well, is a very respectable amount of damage for a ship of this size and tech level. In fact, I would outright say that that is overtuned. That is a definite combat vessel that is going to go far. Now, if you don't happen to have the Kestrel handy, they are super cheap on the market. They're selling for dirt cheap, and being frigates, low-based frigates, they are seeded on the market, which means you can usually buy one for really cheap and just fly out to somewhere like Jita and pick it up, though they are all over the place. And they're nice and cheap, easy to outfit, and you'll see what this thing can do later on. Now, in regards to skills to operate this, we saw, of course, this is a frigate, so under cruising technology, frigate command is always going to be useful. and we get bonuses for frigate command to the ship's velocity and movement speed and that. So it's well worth having frigate command leveled up for this particular one. And of course we are using missiles. Now if we head across to the missile skills, small missile torpedo operation is the main one you are going to need. The Kestrel itself does get bonuses based on your skill levels there. Now, small missile torpedo upgrade is also very useful. It's just a little bit of extra damage for not many extra skill points. You can see here an extra 15% small missile damage, along with faster flight time and extra velocity there as well. And that's all kind of stuff we want. You don't need the upgrade. Go for the operation first of all. That is what you're going to need. Under maintenance technology, of course, shield operation is going to be useful for us, or shield hardening if you want to use shield hardeners instead. And under the defenses here, under defense upgrade, you're probably going to want frigate defense upgrade. You can see actually I'm training advanced frigate defense upgrade at the moment as well, because that is a skill. I like flying frigates, so 100% I want that as high as I can. Finally, under skills, frigate engineering is going to be very, very useful. Ultimately, this thing gives you 25% extra capacity and 25% extra power grid, and drops the warp capacity need by 30%, which allows you just to warp out that little bit easier if things happen to go a little bit awry. Now, you'll see that when I talked about the fittings, I talked about using the missiles rather than torpedoes. Now, the main reason for this is if we have a look at the stats and scroll right down, I have got a video from back in the beta that explains how missiles work. I'll put a link in the description, hopefully a card up at the top of the screen now that will link to that, so you can go check that out and understand what all these stats here mean. Things like explosion velocity, explosion radius, that kind of thing. But ultimately, it's the missile range that matters. You want something with a high range. In this case, the Mark V small missile launcher has a range of 18.75 kilometers. Now, if I come out and go into the market, this does take a brief bit of time to load, but if I come into the market to showcase torpedoes, you'll see that these are a lot shorter range. So if I go to missile launchers, scroll past all of the small missile launchers, there we are, small torpedo launchers, didn't mean to close that one down. Let's have a look again, just Mark V for comparison. Mark V small torpedo launcher, it does more damage, but it's only 4.5 kilometers. These are short-range powerhouses that are great for getting in, dealing a massive amount of alpha strike, and then leaving as quickly as possible. For this build, though, as I said, you do need missile launchers, small missile launchers, not the torpedoes. And what this is going to do is allow us to kite with missiles and do anomalies that are far beyond our normal capabilities and expected tech level. Then that is going to give you a lot of money in this final test, especially if, as per my previous video, you've gone in and trained up in biology, the advanced acceleration skill. Anyway, so I'm now going to undock, I'm going to find an anomaly, and I'm going to showcase this in action for you guys. Okay, so I'm drifting around in the system half at the moment, which is in Malden Heath, and that's where the Kestrel Cartel is based for the duration of the final test. I'm not guaranteeing that's where it's going to be. It's probably not where it's going to be in live, but we'll have a look. Anyway, so I'm going to go to here. You can see Angel Small Anomaly level 5. That is a tech level 5. There are cruisers and some other rather nasty ships in these, and I'm going to showcase, hopefully this is an empty one that's got no one else in it. I'm going to showcase to you how you can use a Kestrel to get a severe amount of money doing these. So here we are warping into the section now, and you can see there is two stabbers. There are two stabbers and two thrashers in the area. So I'm going to lock onto all of these. Now the thrashers are actually my main target here. I'm then going to approach. Now if you long press on approach, you can drag this out to a decent range, and you will, rather than approach, you will actually keep at range. What I'm going to do here, you'll see, is I start firing, I'm going to move away. Now, if I long press on the missile launcher here, because this is a fitted one, you can see that with my skills and with the bonuses that the Kestrel supplies to the missile launcher, the missile range is 26.81. So I want to be as close to that range as possible. So we're going to go to approach, and we're going to change that out to 26, possibly even just 25 or 24. Let's just put that at 24, and we'll keep it a range of 24. Now, the reason I'm not orbiting. Some people say, you know, why don't you just orbit? Because then you guarantee staying at that range. Yes, but obviously you're doing a circle around that particular ship. And if you look at the layout that those ships are in at the moment, if I zoom the camera right out, you can see that they're like in a cloud, which means if I start orbiting, I'm actually going to get closer to the ones behind, which risks putting me in range of those guns. And that's a Thrasher and, well, 2 Thrashers and 2 Stabbers. That is a lot of clout if I get up close and personal, which I don't want to do. Now, so by keeping at the 24, you see that my ship at the bottom here, look, they're speeding up a little bit, up to about 400 meters per second, and then it's going down to 100 meters per second and going up. Basically, when that Thrasher gets into range, I'm just pulling a little bit further away to make sure that I maintain that distance of 24 kilometers. Same here with the Gisty Thrasher. I'm going to move on to that one. I'm now going to set my approach to 24 again on that one. There we go. Oh, it's a bit tricky at the moment. There we are, 26 will do nicely. I have taken a little bit of incidental damage, so I'm just going to use the shield booster for 1 or 2 cycles. Bam, there we go, and we're up to a nice thing, so I can turn that off. Now, I have had someone here come into the anomaly with me. I think that's actually one of the guys from the Kestrel Cartel, so I'm not going to be too angry. But it does showcase what I'm talking about here, that you can see I'm keeping my distance, and the ships are trying to shoot at me, but missing. The enemy ships cannot hit me from this range. Now, I know the guy on the left is not from our thing, but it looks like he is going to be... Yeah, he's left. Cool. Again, a little bit of incidental damage there, so I can turn my shield booster on for 1 cycle just to repair that damage to my shield. Bam, it's up to full. I'm still on 88% capacitor, and I'm sitting at a nice comfortable 26 kilometers. I actually do want to be slightly under the 26, because that's at maximum range, and I thus might go over. There we are, 25. Now, I'm not going to do the entire anomaly with you guys, because there's like 4 or 5 waves of this, and you can see that my damage isn't great, but the damage doesn't need to be great. Ultimately, what I'm doing here is just showcasing that you can hit one at a time and deal that little bit of damage there. As I said, if you've got Mark 1 or even Mark 3 or even Mark 1 missile launchers, you will still be able to do this. It's just going to take you that little bit longer. We're going to keep at our range. That other Gistum Stabber there at 20 kilometers is getting a bit close, so that's the one we're going to go for next. Repair with the shield booster. Here we are again. Set the approach on that 20 kilometer Stabber to, again, 24 kilometers will do nicely. That should be far enough out that I'm not getting hit, but I'm doing enough damage to him. I'm going to put the afterburner on for a second as well, just to hit that 24k quickly. And let's have a look, see if we've got any loot dropped so far. Yes, we have. We've got a destroyer wreck. Awesome. I will go loot that in a moment. That could be some very nice parts. It's Gistum stuff, so obviously the space I'm in at the moment is Minmatar space. Anything that drops from these guys is going to ultimately be Minmatar loot. So that was a Thrasher we took out. It'll be things like small projectile turrets, or sorry, small cannons, as they're now called in EVE Echoes. Be things like the small cannons, or indeed the like small shield boosters, that kind of thing. Just anything that you might find fit on a Thrasher. And of course, you know I love my Thrashers, so you know that's the kind of loot I do use quite a bit. But again, this Kestrel is now taking out quite comfortably a Stabber there. Although now I've got a couple of guys from my from the Kestrel Cartel who have come and joined. So I can see they're taking out the other one in the distance there. You can see Aki and Gonzo are taking out the 39 kilometers Gistum Stabber. I'm still taking out this one comfortably on my own. You just keep the range. Ultimately, in this case, it's obviously that Stabber at range is not going to be doing any form of damage to me at all. So it's going to be busy targeting them. But you can see even the one that's chasing me is doing no damage at all. So you can quite comfortably work slowly through these one by one. I will actually, after this particular Stabber goes down, I might jump to a different anomaly, just to leave those guys to it. Again, of course, you can use things like a missile control system, a missile ballistic control system to up the damage of your missiles, just to do this kind of thing a little bit quicker. But personally, I rather have the shield booster to obviously repair my shields in case I take any incidental damage, in case anything gets a bit too close. And I've got the afterburner in the bottom right there as well, just to get myself at a bit of extra range if things start getting a little bit too close too quickly. Now in this case, I am going to start moving towards that destroyer wreck, and I'm going to do so with my afterburner on. You'll see here that I will take a little bit of damage from these ships as I come into their range, and that kind of showcases the point that I'm trying to get at here, that what I'm ultimately trying to do is I'm keeping out of range of their guns while sitting on the limit of the range of mine. I can still hit them, but they can't hit me. And that's kind of the key point we're getting at with missile kiting in a Kestrel. And you can see this is a tier 5 anomaly. I'm quite comfortably, there we are, 1,400,000 ISK bounty for taking out that that stabber. That's a cruiser. That's a cruiser that I've just taken out right there. That's with a tier 3 frigate. And I've taken almost no damage at all. I'm going to help these guys blow up this last stabber. There we are. Ooh, Mark 5 Adaptive Invulnerability Shield. And yes, I will take that quite. Thank you very much. That's a nice little bit of gear that I will have for some of my other ships. Something we'll talk about in a future video, I'm sure. Anyway, let's get this one finished off, and you'll see that another wave will come out soon. Gonzo obviously is still sticking around here. I assume he's going for this stabber as well, because it does go down quite quickly, which means when I fire this salvo, I'm actually going to switch my turrets off so I can let him get the bonus for that one. I don't want to steal his kill there. Although I'm worried I might have just done exactly that. We'll see, we'll see. My missiles should hit, take that right down, and he'll finish off the rest. At which point there'll be another... yeah, he's out here in a caracal. Cool. Oh no, doesn't look like he's firing. Possibly keeping his distance and helping me out on this one. Okay, well either way, he's taking the hits for it. Let's finish that one off, and then I will warp out of here. But that is basically all I wanted to talk about in this video. You've seen now that in a tier 3 frigate, a Kestrel, all I've done... No, good, he did get the bounty for that one. All I've done is ultimately just fly around, keep my range, keep at maximum range to them, whilst keeping out of their guns range, whilst keeping on the very, very edge of mine. So again, in this case, that is for these missiles, 26.81 kilometers. I'd rather sit at 26, if not at 25 or 24. As long as I'm outranging the enemy's guns, I'm absolutely fine. And that's it. That's it. And you can see that for killing that caracal alone, that's 1,400,000 ISK as the bounty. If you're doing things like encounters, obviously you can go into your encounter menu, go through to the news section and pick some of the more advanced ones. So if I go into news here and look at advanced, these are the Tech 5 ones. As long as it's just the Tech 5 ones, you'll be able to actually probably get on surprisingly well with those. It's going to take a little bit of time for me to load, because of course it is. When I try to do anything on video like this, that's kind of what happens. There we are, advanced. So you'd have a look-see for here, communication, jammer, search. Let's have a look at this particular one here. Angel or Devil, it's one I want to do, and it suggests... Actually, that one suggests like a standard frigate or destroyer, so I can quite happily take that one. Let's have a look and see if there's a slightly... Or is it? I need to refresh. Let's refresh and see if that changes everything. Wait for that to load. You can see obviously down the side there's a few that I set up yesterday and then went to bed before finishing. Oops. Oh well. Yeah, this looks more like it. Okay, so let's look for a combat one. It's not going to be any now, is there? Look at those. 25, 35,000 ISK, and that's in addition to the bounties that you'll get for those. So let's have a look at the lower level one there. See, it recommends a tier 5 destroyer or cruiser. 100%, I reckon I can do that with this Kestrel. They are super powerful little ships that are great for taking out these tier 5. You can comfortably do a tier 5. You can probably do tier 6 as well. Just be aware that you may want to jump out of there very quickly. Anyway, folks, that really does cover everything I wanted to say about the Kestrel, how to kite with it, how to do anomalies that are far beyond what you should be doing with any other ship, just by using a combat frigate in a very clever way. Make sure to give that a try. Get yourself a whole ton of ISK during the test. Chances are that the Kestrel can do this in Eve Echoes as well, Eve Online as well. Ugh, can't speak. You can do this in Eve Online with a Kestrel as well, so it's nice to see that you can do it in Eve Echoes. I do wholeheartedly expect that will stay the same at live. Anyway, folks, thank you ever so much for watching. Do let me know how you get on, and I look forward to seeing you next time or on the Kestrel Cartel Discord. Happy sailing, and see you in New Eden.